Thanks everyone, and appreciate the introduction, and thanks Kerry and the organisers to setting up a great conference here over the last couple of days. I'm just going to do a little test run here. All right. So Kingston Resources, we're actually one of the newer gold companies, I suppose, on the ASX at the moment. We're 2 years old. We did a reverse takeover of Kingston as a management team in 2016. Unashamedly, we started with lithium tenements and we went straight out and brought 2 gold projects, and we have now sold the lithium tenements. So we now have the Missima Gold Project in PNG. You can see the picture there. I'm going to just talk through that quickly. So I'm a mining engineer, so you'll get more about mining from me than the geology, but you can see the mill processing plant that was there. That processing plant produced 4 million ounces of gold over 15 years. It was in production from 1989 to 2004. It's now all gone. It's just overgrown again with the jungle. You can see the pit on the top of the hill there, that produced 3.7 million ounces of gold and 22 million ounces of silver. And we are sitting here today with the 2.8 million ounce resource, which was drilled out by Placer. So that resource is what they left behind and decided to close in 1990. This project's been in private hands and on the TSX for the last 15 years. And how we got it was a scheme of arrangements in Canada. We took over WCB Resources last November. So we had the project for less than a year and commenced drilling in May, just this year. So we've just got started on it. So the company, in quick summary, so we've got 70% already of the 2.8 million ounce Missima project. Our partner there is Pan Pacific Copper, which is Nippon and Mitsui joint venture. They're not free carried, and as we continue to pay for 100% of the project, we expect our equity ownership to go up over the next 12 months until such a point that they decide to actually contribute. Livingston, WA Gold Project near Meekatharra, that's in the Bry Basin, not far from Fortnum and some of the West Gold projects. Got a 50,000 ounce resource there, and great exploration targets which we're currently drilling at the moment. Board and management, very experienced gold-focused board management team. Recent board member Mick Wilkes from Oceana Gold and Managing Director joined in July. I'll talk through the rest of the board in a minute. Strong cash position with over 5 million in the bank and drill rigs at both projects. Just corporate snapshot, we have used equity to do the gold transactions. What's important is the price you paid, and everyone talks about timing. We paid $3 an ounce for Missima and $3 an ounce for Livingston. And both of those projects we expect to grow the resource bases at. EV is about $23 million today. Slipstream Resources, Sandfire and Farjoy are our 3 largest shareholders, all very supportive. Sandfire is involved due to the WCB legacy ownership they had on the TSX. So they were investing there for copper, and we're investing in Missima for gold. Chairman is Anthony Wiebe, myself, Andrew Corbett is the Managing Director, Andrew Patterson's who's here as Chief Geologist. Both of us were at the School of Mines together in Western Australia. Mick Wilkes, as I said, mining engineer who's built 5 mines in 15 years. Stuart Reckner is a geologist and lawyer, and Chris Drew is our CFO there. Project manager. We have 5 geos currently on the project at Missima, about 45 people, including the drillers. Where is Missima? It's 600 km east of Port Moresby. It is an island in PNG. We aren't in the highlands. We as a management team have decided that we don't want to be in the highlands and we want to be on the islands in PNG. Water's your best friend in PNG. It helps with logistics, it helps with population, it helps with basically people turning up and saying they're landowners that aren't. So it's too hard for people to get to Missima unless you buy a ticket and fly there. So the fantastic part is we've got 20,000 people, and we know there's 20,000 people, and when we go to rebuild this project there won't be 150,000 people. So that's good. Where are we sitting? We've got an 82 million tonne resource at 1.1 grams and 5 grams silver, so that's 2.8 million ounces, of which 50% is in the indicated category already. Currently drilling that project it's open along strike and at depth. Missima's got a long history of mining. People have been mining there since the 1800s. They're mining there today. It is the only income on the island today. And that's in 2 forms, artisanal and alluvial mining by the locals and fly-in, fly-out miners. So what that is, and that's quite important, is that Placer trained 700 local residents at Missima and they still, over 100 of them still work in mines all through PNG and do fly in, fly out from Missima. So, and most of them go to Lihir, Octeti and Porgera. So there is a mining culture at Missima, and there's a local workforce already at Missima. Spoken about historical production, but in some really important numbers, peak production was 370,000 ounces in 1992. The first 7 years of production were over 300,000 ounces a year, an average 230,000 ounces for 15 years. We think it significantly de-risks. We've got 15 years of metallurgy data. We've got a 90 million tonne bulk sample from Missima that's been completed by Placer. We're currently drilling and expect to kick off mining studies by Christmas. Just drilling down onto the island. So the advantages of, as I said, of being on an island and being at Missima is one I just want to quickly talk through. As you can see, we are the only exploration licence. That's the blue ring around the island. It's about 180 square kilometres of target zone, I suppose, the best way to describe it. 20,000 people, as I said. There is a hospital, schools, functioning airport, commercial flights. You can fly in and out of Missima, no problems. So logistics is actually quite good. It's in the Ring of Fire. It is in PNG. It is in elephant country. We are already talking about a 7 million ounce endowment, 4 million that's been produced, and we're currently sitting here with 2.8. So we think we're onto a big project, and it will be hopefully producing again in due course. Spoken about the advantages of Missima. It's a mining culture. It's actually Melanesian and, most importantly, matriarchal. So the land is owned by the ladies, and that's the best thing in the world in PNG. They're very gentle, and you don't have the issues that you do have under the patriarchal systems in other parts of PNG. Approvals, it was previously approved. So we've got a well-trodden path. So we've got supportive locals, the right geology, and it was approved. And most importantly, it was a high-margin project. It was a low strip ratio, very soft, 2.8 to 1 the strip historically was. Obviously it'll go up second time round, but it's still low strip. And metallurgy, it averaged 91.7% gold recovery for 15 years. So we know pretty well what it's going to do for the next 15 years once it's rebuilt. So 91.7 and 48 on silver is what it produced. 48% recovery. And as I said earlier, there's infrastructure. There's hospital, schools, roads, some power, all built by the mine last time. So that's really positive. This is not an infrastructure project like some of the PNG larger projects. This is a gold project. And to talk about multiplier effects, and one of the big benefits we see with Missima is there's 20,000 people here. Maybe 500 of them will work in the mine, but that's a pretty damn good multiplier effect for benefits for 20,000 people on this island. So not only will shareholders of Kingston do well out of this, the people of Missima will do very well. A little bit of history. People say, how did this happen? Why is there ounces still here? It was the gold price. 100%. So easy to point at this chart in hindsight, but Placer made the decision to close in 1990. We all remember the gold price back then. I was at Bounty and we were selling for $250, $260 an ounce. So basically Placer closed the project, and from that day on the gold price pretty well has gone north. Life of mine cash costs, it's a margin game. Everyone talks about grade is king, we heard that earlier, but in my view margin's king. As a mining engineer, as long as the mining costs are low and the processing costs are low, then we can make great money at Missima. It was an open pit. It will be an open pit again. We've spoken about the recoveries, and I've also mentioned the 90 million tonnes that has already been processed. So a bit of geology. I'll do my best as a mining engineer. I suppose for me the takeaway is there's a lot of targets and there's a lot of gold on Missima. There's a lot of opportunity. You can see the pit, the Amuna pit, was 3.5 kilometres long and produced all the gold. It's where the 2.8, or the majority of the 2.8 million ounces sits today. There were some road-based pits out to the east called Quartz Mountain, to the west, and to the north there's 4 kilometres of potential strike extension which we have not drilled yet. There are some shallow oxide holes that Placer did which all are economic and carry grade. We've recently done some work at Ara Creek, and I've already got a target there that's over 500 metres long. T2 is a structural target. T4 and 5, we just haven't named these yet because we're yet to do enough work on these targets, but these are all targets because they've either got artisanal workers on them today or historical numbers from Placer or historical projects. We've made one new discovery already called Ginam Wa. It's right next to the mill, and very interesting because it's already got a strike length of 500 metres. I'll just show you a bit more information on that. So we've got 14 metres at 12 grams and 35 silver in a trench right next to the processing plant that was there. And I mean, it's 200 metres away from the processing plant location. So that probably will be the location of the processing plant second time round. The current haul road, which we drive over, actually goes across that project or that prospect. Spoken about Ara Creek in the north, and there's a lot. Basically, there's no shortage of targets. So currently we're drilling on the resource, which is what we'll talk about now. We've completed 5 holes since we've got underway, currently focused on actually speeding that drilling up and looking at a second drill rig in 2019 to progress the project. They're all extensional holes at the moment. Best numbers so far, 27 at 1.1. They're the sort of numbers you would expect because it's a big, wide open pit project. It's large, it's bulk, some really nice 2 gram and 3 gram intersections as well. So so far the drilling is basically doing what we expect. This is a long section, gives you a bit of a feel for the size of the project. 3.5 k's long. The black line is the old pit. You can see the grey sections where they took down some of the hills, and some of the pit parts of the pit are very shallow, less than 100 metres. Average depth of hole across the whole project is 119 metres. So there's plenty of scope for this to extend. You can see 1200 Whittle shell there, that's got 2.2 million ounces in it. That was done for the TSX listing. And then our JORC boundary, which we did in November. It's all drilling constrained, 100% to base a hole on most of the drilling. Quick timeline, because I am running out of time. We completed our earn-in this month, actually in September. So as I said earlier, our partner now is not free carried, and we expect them to continue to dilute down on exploration. It would be good to have the Japanese, Nippon and Mitsui there for building the project, so hopefully that'll play out over the next 18 months. The plan is to complete feasibilities in 19 and get approvals underway after that. As I said earlier, we've got to remember we're 10 months into owning this project so far, so getting feasibilities underway at Christmas and approvals hopefully underway by the end of the next year will be a great result. Our second project in WA, currently drilling this. So what we like here is there's a 5 by 4 kilometre soil anomaly or auger target, which we are currently drilling at the moment, and we're getting some great numbers. That target's actually 10 k's to the west of the current resource that we have at 1.6 grams, about 1 million tonnes at Livingston. So this is a starter project. This is not of the scale of Missima, but we expect Livingston to help Kingston grow into building Missima. Where is it? It's in the Bryah Basin in Meekatharra. The structure's about 35 kilometres long, or the target area. There's some of the numbers we've got at Livingston, some great numbers. You can see the resource at surface. It basically outcrops 18 at 7, 14s at 3, 7 at 12, so all near surface. Great, as you'd expect in a nice WA gold project. Results are pending there on that project as we speak. Just another example of Livingston there. Valuation, it's always about, we all think we're the cheapest gold stock in the room. Just some numbers for you. We're trading at Australian $10 an ounce at the moment with our 2.8 million ounce project in Missima and including Livingston. So there's plenty of scope in terms of valuation as we advance the project and come out with some more exploration to let the market understand the potential at Missima and Livingston. Just in summary, basically we're Kingston Resources, a new gold-focused exploration and development company. Our aim is to redevelop the Missima Gold Project as a large-scale open-pit operation. We've got highly credible partners who, when we come to build this project, will be very helpful for the build aspects of it. We aim to continue exploration at Livingston and potentially use that as a starter project for the company. And growing interest from institutionals as people start to understand the benefits of the Missima Gold Project. Thank you.